Hey guys, this is Connor with Conquest HP, and this video is about tennis elbow. Tennis elbow is very common for desk jockeys and tennis players alike, and it's something that actually benefits quite a bit from just doing homework, from doing your rehab homework. It's something that we can work on in the clinic, manual therapy, but it is something that benefits most from you actually working on it yourself. So I'm going to show you some things that you can do today to kind of ease that pain and also to help it kind of develop into something that doesn't bother you moving forward. So a tennis elbow is also called lateral epicondylitis. It's just kind of an irritation of the common extensor tendon, all the muscles in the back of the forearm that attach at the elbow. So you might feel that pain right at the back of the elbow. That's the most common thing. You could feel it anywhere along that forearm. Maybe it's just there all day. Maybe it's there when you're cocking that wrist back to do some typing. Maybe it's actually when you're gripping something like a tennis racket, that kind of thing. It doesn't have to necessarily be when we're using those muscles. Like a lot of people would think that it's something that requires those muscles to be active in terms of like a concentric way, but it can just be gripping. Like if I'm actually ripping a forehand, those muscles are going to be active just to kind of stabilize the wrist. So that's how it can develop that way in the first place. So the first thing you're going to want to do is kind of manage the load that you're putting on that tendon and on those muscles. This usually develops because there's been too much load. Think of that also as kind of like stress. It's like there's too much load in a collective sense being put on those tissues, and they have kind of developed an inflammatory response and they're unable to keep up with what you're demanding from them. So that could be anything that puts you in that kind of wrist cocked back position, anything that requires a strong grip, a lot of stabilization, anything that uses these muscles along the back of the forearm to a powerful degree. So kind of pay attention throughout your life, throughout your training, throughout sport, all those things, and see if there are positions or there are moments that you routinely kind of repeat throughout the day that may use those muscles that you might be able to reduce for right now. Because right now the muscles, the tendon, those things are overloaded, and just taking some of that load off of them is going to give you a little relief, which is a good idea for right now. The next thing we want to do is kind of actively loosen up those muscles in the back of the forearm. There's a really good chance that they've been kind of chronically stiff if you've had this issue for any length of time. And that chronic stiffness can just keep that area really uncomfortable in the first, or kind of keep it uncomfortable throughout the healing process. So what we want to do is just kind of use a tennis ball. You can even use something like the edge of a table and just kind of dig into those muscles a little bit, a little self-massage. It doesn't have to be overly masochistic, like I'm just leaning on those muscles a little bit. If you're more sensitive than that, then you can just take a thumb and kind of rub it into place. I also like using the tennis ball on top of the surface and rolling around a little bit. Anything just to kind of loosen up those muscles. What we probably don't want to do a lot of is actually stretching. So it's a really common idea to say, well, this kind of wrist position is going to stretch those muscles. Stretching them is going to loosen it, and loosening those muscles are going to feel better. Anytime a tendon is involved, though, stretching kind of puts like a compressive force on a tendon. It's the same kind of force that you would get when you might tear a tendon. So we don't want to really stretch that hard. A lot of the time that stretch is going to feel good. Like you'll stretch and you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm getting it right where I feel my symptoms, so I'm obviously doing the right thing. You'll feel good for 15-20 minutes afterwards, and then you really just made things worse, and you'll feel that later. So don't do that any more than you have to. If you really feel like you have to stretch, just really minimize it. But I wouldn't push anyone to stretching right now, and I'd actually prefer that you didn't do any stretching. Hey Bron, what's up, buddy? Bronson O'Flynn contributing. Hey, bud. So remove some of that load from those tissues, from that tendon, from the muscles. Do what you can to loosen up those muscles without irritating it further. And And this is the most important part. This is going to give you some pain relief right now, but it's also your way out of lateral epicondylitis long term. We have to strengthen those muscles. We have to improve your ability to use those muscles and the capacity of those muscles. The best way to do this, according to the research, and a way that also helps to reduce pain for most people, is called isometrics. So an isometric contraction means that I'm contracting a muscle, but nothing is moving. So you can have a contraction where muscle length is changing. In this contraction, there is no muscle length change at all. So doing this is really safe for tendons and joints because there is nothing moving. And we can keep the intensity fairly low when we do it in this context. Think like 50-60% of the maximum amount you're able to contract. And what you can do is just kind of hold that contraction start with something low, like 30 seconds at a time. And you can repeat that 2 or 3 times, and you can repeat that a couple times a day. This will help get you moving to strengthen that muscle in the first place, to strengthen that area of the body in the first place, help recondition that tendon. And those are the things that are really going to keep this away long term. Like the whole reason you got into this position in the first place is because those tissues, that tendon, were overloaded. They couldn't keep up with what you were demanding. So if we improve the fitness and the conditioning, the strength in those tissues, they can handle a lot more. They're a lot less likely to get into this mess in the first place or in the next place. So if all we ever do is just release those muscles, we're not actually addressing what got you there in the first place. And this issue is going to be an ongoing, painful, repetitive thing, as it is for many people. So this isometric part is really important. So the easiest way to do it is just kind of drape your arm over the edge of a table or a bed or a chair or something like that, or even your knees. So I just want a position where my wrist can kind of hang down. So anything that brings the edge right to the kind of crease of the wrist is a good idea. I just want to hold that wrist nice and straight. I'm just going to use 2 fingers on my opposite hand, put them right along the knuckles, and I'm going to push down into the top of my hand with those fingers. So my palm is facing down. When I do this, fingers are pushing down, hand is pushing back up, nothing is moving. We're just holding that isometric contraction, 50-60% intensity, and you're just going to hold that for 30 seconds, repeat a couple of times a day, and that's going to get you started. There are things we need to progress to in order to allow you to actually do things like tennis, more exciting things down the road, but this will get you started. This is a great first step. So relax those muscles, strengthen those muscles, take some of the load off of them for now, and then we can go from there. Maybe I'll do some more videos about what you can do next. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and check out conquesthp.com for more like this. Talk to you guys again soon.